We spoke to Ed Miliband on Friday. He's got these big plans if he gets elected to break up the banks and bring more bankers in. I'm not sure it's going to work. The 25th branch of Metro Bank, however, has opened in Milton Keynes last week, but the company seems to treat banking very differently, with branches open until late in the evening and on Sundays when customers might actually want to go to the bank. That's unusual. There are plans for further expansion too, after £387.5 million has been raised from investors to fund the banking expansion. Jonathan Davies is an economist and wealth manager from Hertfordshire. Jonathan, very good afternoon to you.
Hello, Roberto.
Welcome to the programme, Jonathan. How significant, Jonathan, is it that this money's been raised from investors who clearly think this bank is going places?
Well, in fact, this is, I believe, the fourth round of money raising that the bank has made in the city in order to expand. Clearly, their business model is working. The city realises it, and they're happy to put their money where their mouth is because they want some of the action.
Irrespective of what politicians want to do, I said we spoke to Ed Miliband, who's got this sort of very strange idea about breaking up the banks and having more competition. Is there space in the banking industry for new operators to come in and place a foothold?
Well, absolutely. Look, the top 5 banks control over 90% of banking in the UK. That is, in economic terms, an oligopoly, where a few number of participants control a huge share of the market. Inevitably, when you have an oligopoly, which is something similar to a monopoly, and what you get are bad practices. You get laziness, you get not caring for the customers. Well, of course, there are going to be, and there are, the Metro Bank now have nearly 300,000 customers. There are clearly hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of folk in the UK who want to go into a branch, who don't want to bank online, who want to have friendly, helpful people, who want to see a doggy bowl in the corner.
Well, that's the other thing. People don't know that this Metro Bank, or they opened their... I saw it last week. I was in Milton Keynes on Tuesday, but they opened it, I think it was on Friday. All these Metro Banks have a dog bowl in the bank, so you can take your dog in and your dog will have a sip of water.
They've won an award from, I think, the Kennel Club for being so doggy-friendly. Basically, these guys have brought banking back to what we want it to be, in a sense, back to Mr. Mannering, the man or the woman locally who understands local business, understands local people, and isn't working out of a computer 500 miles away. Metro Bank is a great concept, and I wish them well, and I hope they expand throughout the whole of the UK.
Do you think people will want to do banking on the weekends, late in the evening, a Sunday, for example, Sunday opening? Is that the future for some people, Jonathan?
Absolutely. Look, not everyone is technologically savvy. There are clearly, for example, I think retirees are less technologically savvy than others. They want to be able to go in and see a banking individual. We know that's one of the reasons why people are sticking with building societies. Absolutely, yes. People want weekend banking, whether or not they're into technology, because that's when they have, well, in theory, the time to go through their financial issues. It's very difficult to do it during the week. Everyone knows that. We all have very busy lives.
And Jonathan, can I ask you, because for the last couple of years we've been debating the banks, they're all very bad, they're not lending money, but they don't tend to lend money to people who are bad risks, and somehow that's bad practice on the bank's part. It's not, is it?
No, it's not. You've heard me say many times that the practices of the banks leave a great deal to be desired. However, it's entirely rational for them not to be lending into an economy which is only just about getting off its feet. Clearly, there are businesses out there who say, oh, we can make this work, but, you know, the bank will find it more profitable to lend on property than to lend on businesses. So the banks are acting entirely rationally.
But you see, and I've come across a lot of people say, the banks, I've got a business idea, the banks won't lend me any money. I'm thinking, well, what sort of equity are you putting up? None. I just want, well, you're not going to get a loan.
Well, exactly. So when the likes of Vince Cable or Ed Miliband say the banks should be lending more money, well, they should go and work for a bank, and they should realise that with all the massive debts that are in society already, to pile on more debts just makes the whole risky situation even riskier. And I'll tell you, another mild jolt to the economy and existing loans could go down the pan. So that's why the banks aren't lending. It's not because of some political or other reason. It's simply because risks out there are too high. It's less risky to lend on property. So they do.
Jonathan, good talk as always. Wish you well, sir. Jonathan Davis, economist and wealth manager from Hertfordshire.